I'm going to take you through start to finish, adding a Kirby hat into Smash Remix. We're going to start off with a ROM that already has one of the original vanilla character hats replaced with the one that you're interested in. For this one, I've got Crash Hat over Mario. Just take a look at that real quick just to make sure. And there we go. So that's what we're trying to do. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to end up modifying some code. We're going to add a new hat first of all. So we're going to increase the new hats and the total hats up here. This is going to be for Crash. Let's go down here to where we list out the characters. And we're going to make a new one here and just sequentially add that up. So this will be 2A and this will be Crash. There we go. It's going to be over Mario. That's the original vanilla one. Now these numbers we're going to have to figure out once we get there. So I'm just going to get those kind of cleared off. And that's the next thing we're going to do. But before we do that, let's just make sure we update the spawn with table. We'll just add an entry right after Dragon King. And it will be 23. Update the rest of them here. This will be Crash. And Crash. So that kind of gets this file up to date with everything that needs to be in here, everything else in here. So to get these numbers here, we're going to start actually putting it into, which takes a little bit of time. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go up here to this use extended special parts copy. We're going to copy that address and we're going to go back here, open up the debugger, and we're going to, in the commands here, jump down to this routine, but there's a special spot in this routine I always jump to, which is down here, that once it sets the SO, the S0 register, I think that's where we want it. So I'm going to go there and break on that. So now we come back in here and we actually try to copy. We can skip the first time because he's going to change into his open mouth, closed mouth. And we're going to press B, and now he's going to change. All right, now we need to pay attention to what's in S0. So S0 should be a couple of pointers. So this is going to be the high poly, and this is going to be the low poly, I think. I might have got that backwards, but we'll see when we get there. But the only one that really matters is this first one because the display list is the only thing that really ever changes. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this open. I do just follow pointer. I do control space. So follow pointer. This is the display list of the Crash hat. And I can prove that to you by simply replacing this first command with a df command, and it's gone, right? So that's the right display list that's being used. So now we have to do is we have to find this in the ROM. So let's go over to game configuration here, and from GE editor, we're going to go to the Kirby model file, which I think is 0148, if memory serves. Yeah, character file. Here we go. So we're going to we got to make sure we're in the right ROM. So we're going to open up the right ROM, which is actually going to be in downloads. And it's going to be, where is it? Where am I running this from? Oh, I know, it's probably just a little bit older. Is it older? Where in the world is it? I'm stumped at the moment to where this is. So give me a second here. Figure that out. silly me. It was right here the whole time. So crash hat is one we're going to open up. Kirby character file. Let's take a note of a couple of things here. So the internal file resource offset, or sorry, the internal file table offset is at 8. So we're going to need to know that. So I'm going to make a note of that. And that is the first thing I'm going to note here. So let's open this guy up. So we're going to save this, and we're going to say crash. And now I'm going to open that up in XHD. So now we've got the file that actually has that display list. So we're going to go and find that display list, which we should be able to just kind of grab. Actually, you know what we'll do? The first thing we'll do is we're going to look for the vertices. So the O1 command, the first O1 command in here. So these are all 8 byte commands. So 2 words. So this right here is 1 command. So you see 2 commands every kind of row here. So this first command here, it starts with O1, is calling the vertices, and so we can just jump to that display list. So I'm going to do control space, and this is actually the first row that we want to find in this file. So I'm going to find this hex value, make sure there's not more than one. Okay, so there is more than one, so I'm going to have to double check which one it is, and it's probably this one. So let's just double check. Yeah, so the next row is 8F and then 6.3 and then 9.1, 8F 6.3, 9.1. That looks about right. This one does not have that same pattern. So this is it. So this is the start of what we want to copy out of here. And we're going to go all the way down to the end of the display list. So I'm just going to start going down, selecting, selecting everything. You know, it looks pretty obvious that these are all vertices because that FF right in the center there is not changing. So once we get down here, this is the start of the, well, still vertices, but then right around here is the start of the display list. Yeah, looks about right there is the start of the display list. So if I were to go over and look at this guy again, we'd see E7 dB, E7 dB, right? E7 dB, E7. So this is the start of that display list. So we're just going to go to the end of that display list, which always ends in a DF command. So we're going to go down until we find DF somewhere down here. Yet. Here we go. Not yet. Oh, it's long. It's a very detailed hat. I love me some detailed hats, which means there's going to be a lot to fix. All right, so this is all we need. That last DF command, the full command, and we're going to save selection here. And we're going to call this crash selection. We'll say high poly. So this is going to be high. But I'm going to remember a few things. I'm going to remember that we started out on 1. I don't need the OX, but we're going to do 14818. So that is the start of the file here. And one other thing that we're going to want to capture is how far it is till the first address in the display list. The address is going to be something that we'll need to use as the internal file offset so that we get the right thing. So I'm going to leave that empty, but I'm going to save that. And I'm just going to figure that out right now. So I've still selected all the way to the top, and I know exactly where the first address is in the display list. It's the address of the vertices. So that is down here in the O1 command. So right here, this is the first address. And that is let's see if I can get my start menu to go away here. I guess I can't. So make that bigger. Okay. So it's at, so this is a E84, right? So I'm going to remember that in that file that I just saved. So I'm just going to say save selection again so I can get that pop-up back. And I'm going to do E84. All right. So this is the start, and this is the offset to the first address that's going to need to be fixed for the high poly. All right, so that's great. We did high poly, but we need to do low poly too. So let's just double check that we got that right. I'm pretty sure that it's going to be this one that I'm going to show again. I'm pretty sure it's this one, but we'll just double check that. So what I'm going to, well, no, I'm pretty sure that's it. I don't know what else it would be. I guess it could be that one. Just low, I think low poly comes second. So I'm going to just go with my gut, and we're going to go with that one as low poly. So we're going to find this guy now. So we'll find the first O1 command in here, which is this one. And we're going to jump to U, and we're going to find that. That should be our low poly guy. So I'm not feeling too confident about that, but we'll figure it out in a second. All right, so I'm going to go back to my file here. I'm going to look for this guy. He's right here. And so I think, based on where it is, it's probably going to be hopefully right, because the first one is 131. All right, well, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But we'll find out. Let's see, the last one, where did that end up? May have ended up here, right? Yeah, so it's probably right. This is probably low poly. It's either not low poly or it is low poly, so we'll find out. So I'm going to go down until we see the display list. There's the display list, so let's go to the end of the display list. And there's to the end of the display list up here. All right, so this one is right there. Save selection. And this one is going to be pretty much the same name, except we're going to do low. And change the name, change the location, 6188. I like capitals, so we'll do 88. And then we'll save it, and then we'll fix the E84 to get the right address for the first O1 in the display list, which is right here. So E14 is what we want. So we'll change that to E14. So that already feels about right. So I feel pretty good that that's the low poly. All right, so now we've got our two files, and what we need to do next is append them to the existing Kirby hats file that we've added in Smash Remix. So let's open up the Smash Remix ROM. Oh, which by the way, I have not updated. So let me do that. Original. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to change this to original, and we're going to go to Kirby Custom Hats, which is A8D. We're going to save that file, overwrite my existing file, and I'm going to pop that open. I don't need to pop it open, actually. Well, maybe I should. I'll pop it open. So that's 08D, and this is the existing file. And the existing length is like 35F40. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in the new display lists. But we're not going to do it by hand because that would suck because you have to update all the pointers. So we're going to use my handy dandy tool to do it, which we can run in PowerShell. Holla, holla, holla. So we're going to say, we're going to call Java jar sb64 file appender.jar, and we're going to pick the file that we want to add, which is the one that we added in the build directory, or my ROMs directory, which is called, let's see, date modified. So we're going to do this one, this one. So we'll do high first. So I'm going to go to I'm in my build utils directory. So I'm going to go up to build utils, build and then ROMs, and then 0148 crash high. Now I've got all the numbers I need for the next part, which is OX 14818, OX E84. Now we're going to add this to the A08D guy. So that's going to be up here in my ROMs directory also. We're going to do 08D bin. And we'll go back to this guy to see that that starts at 984. So I didn't need to remember the 8 earlier. I need to remember 984. So that's all. That's all. So OX 984. And then we hit enter. Now this is probably going to tell me that there's some that are not going to fit, and those are going to be images. So yeah, we're going to have to add some images here, which is these are textures that are being used on the hat, and we've got to add those to the file. So this is just telling us that, like, hey, we couldn't find that texture, which is good because we need to find that texture. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to add, I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to add the low one. So the low one is that. So we're going to do OX 16188 OX E14. And we're going to add this. Now this got set to an output file right in my current directory. So I can just go to that. It'll be the same guy here. And to prove that that's the right file, let's just open that up. So in my build directory, utils, the output was updated at 1121. We're actually going to open it up, go down and see that it's bigger than the one that we added to. So as soon as I run this, it will add the low one to it, complain about missing textures, and then now this will be even bigger. And there we go. Now we've got to go and find these textures. Probably the easiest way to find these textures is in memory here. So there are only two, which is easy. This is probably actually a texture and a palette. So let's go find those. So the way that we need to find them is in the display lists. And they're probably the same one. So we'll double check. So this is a low poly display list that I got back here. We're going to look for F5 commands. And the F5 commands will, maybe it's FD. Not there. Here we go. All right, so there's an FD, which is probably the palette, and then there's a FD5. Yeah, FD5. FD1 and FD5. So this is the palette, and this is going to be the texture. So the texture is usually after or before the palette. So we'll go to the texture one first, and then the D8 will show us the texture, the palette. So here's the texture, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And then here is the palette. So whatever reason they make it like 28 long. So I always just copy that. So anyway, just copy this whole thing all the way down to 28, and then we'll be golden. So we'll copy that over to our file, and we'll come back to that in a second, and we'll have to remember these offsets in just a second. We'll update those in here. But let's just make sure that that is the same that's being used in the other display list. So let's go back to this display list, go find the FD commands in here. Okay. Here they are. All right, so that's ED8. Yeah, that's the same one. E50. Yeah, okay. So these are the same ones being used, high poly, low poly. So that is the nice thing about using textures that are the same. You only have to copy one. So I think we only had to copy one texture, but now we got to figure out where this was referenced so that we can update it. And of course, that's really just finding the FD5 commands. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to pop open calculator, and we're going to use the programmer calculator. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to pop open this guy too. We're going to make some notes in here for this. All right, so we're going to remember, we're going to look at 3A, so in the hex, so this is hex. We're going to look at 38650. We're going to divide that by 4. E194. This is texture. And then the palette is at 386D8. We're going to divide that by 4. And that E1B6 is our palette. Right, so why did I divide by 4? It's because when this is stored in the ROM, the first part of the word is going to be a pointer to the next file offset, and this is going to be the file offset, and they're both divided by 4. So let's go to the display lists and see if we can figure it out. So we know that they start somewhere after 35F40. So I'm going to go all the way up to 35F40 the slow way. 35F40. Right. So this is where we start. So we're going to go down to the display list, and we know that down here and somewhere there's an FD1 and an FD5 that I already passed. It's probably on the left. Here we go. All right, so this and this are what we need to update. So it's really just this one and this one, because this one, because these are the pointers. So remember, the second one, the FD5, is the texture. So that one is E194. And then the palette is this one. All right, so that's good. That's that one. So now we need to go to the low poly and find its FD commands, which is going to be on the right. All right, so we're going to fill in the texture first. Sorry, the palette first, and then the texture next here. And bada bing, bada boom. We've got what we needed to do. This should now be good to import. It's got the textures and it's got the two hats models in here. So we're going to save that. And now we're going to overwrite inside here this file with that file. So I'm going to build utils directory, output that bin, and that should take a little bit of time to import and show us a new number here. 38700. Okay, so good. So now we're going to overwrite current ROM. This is supposed to hide for me, but it's not hiding, so apologize about that. Yeah, I don't know why it's not hiding, but this is overwrite current ROM. So I want to hit that overwrite current ROM button, which I'll do a couple times just to make sure. And now that should be in Remix. So we're going to go back into here though, and we're going to look for the start of these guys, like these display lists. So I'm going to go back to 35F40, and I'm going to go to the display list start for high poly, which is about right there at the E7. Oh, so it usually starts with the E7. It's a pipe sync. All right, so this one, this location 36D48 is what we needed in here. So we'll go back in here, down there, 36D48. And now we'll find the low poly, which is down here. Starts about right there. So we're going to find, so put 37FF0. There we go. One other thing before we actually build this, we're going to want to make sure that we update crash to have 23 as the hat ID. So we're going to go into crashes file and set the Kirby hat ID to 23. All right. One last thing just to be ready. We should up this max value for the Kirby hat CSS option by 1. And probably in here add crash, which I assume is just crash, but I didn't actually check this. So let's just double check real quick. Yeah, so that exists, so that's right. Okay, so now we can actually try to build this guy with the new code and see what happens. So I got to go in my patch. And if I'm going to pause it so you don't have to suffer through this part. All right, it worked. So let's try to run it and see what happens. Go in here. Let's open up this guy. All right. Go. Select Kirby. And we'll do crash. Oh, I need to do one thing real quick. All right. Let's see what happens here. Oh, my bad. Okay, so one thing that is usually turned off while we're in development is the actual turning it on, the power copy ability. So we're going to go to character.asm, go to crash, down here, and think it's the one right before BTT that we will set to true. Oops. Let's just double check that because I don't want to get that wrong. BTT. Yeah, so bool inhale copy is the one right before there. Okay, so that needed to be set, and I didn't set that. So I'm going to build it again and pause so you don't have to suffer through that again. All right, so this is just about wrapped up here. So let's go back and start this guy over. Kirby crash. All right, so now we should actually see a hat if I did everything correctly. What just happened? I feel the same way, Crash. I feel the exact same way. Let's go low poly and just double check. What did I do wrong? All right, that sucks. So Slippy somehow became what we did instead of Crash, which is weird because I should have set this. Some place we set it. So where did it go? Just something. Hmm. It's so weird. And what is Peppy set to? Maybe is Peppy set to what I set to? Reset to 20. Peppy. Oh, well, what? That's weird. So I just set it to the wrong one. All right, so whatever. So why is this not right? Oh, this is the spawn with table ID. It's supposed to do 2A. My bad. Told you that in the beginning. All right, so that was a waste of everyone's time. You're welcome. Let's go to Kirby crash. Changes to 2A. Being will be done there. And Um, I could actually just update this in the Kirby inhale struct, but I'm just going to build again so I don't have to deal with it. So I will pause it again, and this time, I promise you, we're going to see a crash out. All right, guys, this time, I promise you, it's going to have the right hat. All right, here we go, crash hat. Beautiful. Oh, that is great. So as you can tell, it's completely wrong, but it is at least rendering, and that's what we want. So let's take a look at a different costume. Before we have a different color to deal with here. Come on, keyboard. All right, so, all right, so he's turning the same color, which is not what we want. So what we got to do is we got to look at the display list again. So we're going to go back to that command that we did earlier, this guy, and we're gonna break on that once we swallow here. So we're going to break on this guy again, right? And we're going to check out what S0 is. So now S0 is different in here, so we're going to close all this stuff off. All right, so this is the pointer to the display list. That is going to be the hat. So let's let him spit. So now we've got the display list. Let's just double check. Yep, that's the right display list. All right, so now we're going to go and we're going to try to figure out why this is happening. So usually this happens with DE commands scattered in either the wrong spot or, well, it's usually that. So let's just try that. So this first DE command, I'm gonna put an F there, and that's not what I want to do. I'm just gonna get rid of it, and you can see it starts to become a different color there. So it's not exactly what we wanted. So we got to find the right DE command in here. So I'll go down to this one, delete that. Okay, so that's his face. We don't want to mess up his face. So we got to find where it starts to mess up his hat. Okay, there we go. So you're getting rid of that D, it actually gets some color there on his head. So it's probably more like we got to figure out which one of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 did it. Could also be potentially an 8, ones that ends in 8. So I'm going to work up to here. So 6, 8. So sometimes that's what I find. 6, 8 tends to do it. We also just get rid of the DE altogether, probably. But I'll just do 6, 8. I'll just do 70 to keep it there. Because he's still blinking, right? Yeah, so that's good. All right, so now we'll find the other DE command that controls the rest of him. Looks like this one might be a good one. Let's see. That's his nose. So let's see. So yeah, again, 6, 8 tends to do it. So let's keep going. There's another DE here. Maybe that's the ears. There we go, but insides of the ears. So 6, 7, we'll do 70, that's fine. And then next DE command down here, hopefully is the top of his ears. and nose. All right. So let's see. 6, 8 tends to work. I don't know why, but it tends to work. And let's see, there might be another one. Yeah, it's the bottom of his nose. So let's do that one. 70 works for that one. And then that's it. So that I think is where you're supposed to look. I guess I'll be told that that's not the right way he's supposed to look, but I think that's the way he's supposed to look. I think that's everything. It looks pretty similar color-wise and everything. So I think that's good. So this is what we have to do in our main display list, right? So we have to find those same DE commands and start modifying them. So I didn't do a great job of documenting just there where I did this, but you would want to be a little bit more careful. But I feel pretty confident that it's going to be pretty much around the last one and just work my way up and I'll probably get it right. So this DF down here, you can see that I just got to go up about 5 and then it'll be that one. So I'll do this DF 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's, yeah, so it's this one right here. That should be a 7. So I'm changing the ones that end in 0 to a 7 and the ones that end in 8 to a 6, 8. And so I think there was what, 4 or 5 that I did. Let's double check here. So it's going to start from the one I just did. And there's going to be another DE there. So about C0 up from that one. So we'll go up C0. This one into 6. This one will go up not too far to 60. So this one right here, we'll do 70. And then from this one, we'll go up a little bit to 6, 8. And then from this one, was that the last one? Nope. So there's one all the way up here, that's a 70. So 160 away from that guy. So this is a 70. Oops, 70. And was that the last guy? Yeah, I think so. All right, so we'll save that, and that should be the low poly. I mean high poly. And now we're going to go back and we're going to go get low poly curbs. And we're going to do the old break on this guy. You know what? That's probably fine. All right, so we're going to do this guy. Ooh, that doesn't look too good. What happened there? Did I do something? Don't know what I did. But I'm not sure what's happened there. That seems pretty bad. That low poly messed up this badly. I called it twice. Right. Yeah, so that's not good. I messed up low poly somehow. So I'm gonna have to figure out what happened. So it can only be a couple of things. Let's oh yeah, okay. So what happened with low poly looks like the uh, the addresses were wrong. So I must have entered in the wrong file offset when I added it, which sucks. That means I might have to redo it. All right, well, let's work through that again. So let's see, we got to go to this guy, go to this guy. So we're going to add, we're going to start, we're going to do the commands over, I guess that's what we'll have to do. But what I'd really like to do is just make sure we got that right. So let's go to 161A8 here. 161A8. So yeah, I mean, that looks like the right start position for everything. I think. So yeah, is it? Is that too low? Should it be up here? I think so. Okay, well, let's just assume that's right. Then the first pointer should have been down here at oh, C9. How did I get E14 before? Hmm. Well, let's try doing that again. We'll do the first command again. I'm going to save this something else though, so we don't lose some of that work. Run this command again because that one was fine. But when I run this one, I'm going to do C9 4. I don't know why I got E14 before. All right, so now let's check out output. And go to polys display list and see if it looks right. Yeah, that looks a little better. Okay, so that should be fine. Everything should have stayed the same with respect to the sizes because it's the same file that I added. So we don't have to worry about that. What we do have to do is update the low poly. So so we're going to copy, I guess, all the high poly changes in the display list, which is up here. Copy all those 36D48. Copy that over all that. And that should be all of our changes that we applied to make it work should be back. And now it's the low poly that we will need to modify for the texture. That is at starting down here, the FD command. Right there. So this guy should be one v6. 1v6, E194. Now let's build it again. I'm gonna push pause. It built. So let me pop that in here. We'll check out low poly first just to make sure they got added correctly. And let's just verify. Oops. Oh, right. I am going to have to restart the emulator. There's one thing that we have to make sure that we do when we do this, and that is in the game configuration, we need to figure out what this new size is. Now it's 38,700. We need to go into here. Oops, that's not right. We need to go into character select, and we need to find a rec list for Kirby, and we need to update it. That way there's no crash. So I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to do that in the back end, I guess. But start that over real quick. Yeah, I have to restart my emulator. So let me just kill that. Bring this back over. I'm gonna push pause. All right, pop it in. Now it should not crash on the CSS when I choose the hat. Just verify. Low poly. Still bad. Man. All right. Well, that's weird. High poly should be good though. But it's not good either. All right. I'm not going to make you suffer through me figuring out what I did wrong. I'm going to push pause and then figure it out, and then I'll tell you what I did. All right. So, silly mistake. What I forgot to do was after updating the file in XHD, I forgot to inject it back into original.z64. And so once I injected it, overwrite current ROM, then I can patch it again, and we should see those changes take effect. So my bad. All right, so let's finish building, start over. This time I feel pretty confident that the high poly should be fully functional and the low poly should not crash, but we'll probably have to fix the display lists. And then there's going to be one more thing we have to check afterwards. But let's do this first. Oopsie daisy. Oh no! What happened? Well, at least that's right. Low poly is still messed up. Right. Well, I will fix low poly in a minute, but while I'm here, I'm going to do one thing. We're going to test cloaking. So hopefully there's no issues with cloaking on this, but I have a feeling this one might have some cloaking issues. All right, so I'm going to suck him up. Looks pretty good. He's still blinking, which is good. So let's do a cloaking device. And check him out. Oh yeah, see, his ears and his nose, his muzzle, are not disappearing. So that sucks, but it's fixable. So what we need to do is we need to go back into that display list and just figure it out. Just got to figure it out. That's it. That's all we got to do. So what we got to look for in this display list is E2 commands, and it looks like a E20001C command, and that is usually telling it to change like render mode. So we're going to look for those in here. And this display list, it's down around wherever the ears were getting rendered, which is getting, I must have passed. I didn't see an E2 command. Oh, here it is. So this is the guy. We gotta look for ones that look like this. So there's two, at least. So there's this one, which is saying, hey, set it to alpha. And there's this one, which is saying, hey, set it back to default. And that's the problem. The one that sets it back to default makes it so that it won't get hidden. So if I remove that and do the thing again, see it goes away, which is right. It's pretty kind of doesn't have a big threshold though, but we don't need that in the display list, and so we're gonna have to take note of where that occurs, and that seems to be the only spot. So that's good. Is that the only one? Let's just double check. E2, 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 E2. No, E2, 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 E2. Yeah, so that's the only one so far. Let's go up here. E2, that's the one. 3878. We need to know that one. I think we just need to know the default. Well, we might need to know that one too. Double check in the code. E2, 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 E2. I think we need to know both. But let's just see if we can find another one. Don't think there is another one. Okay, so let's go figure out how far that is. That one is 4A. Okay, so we're gonna go into character and color, and we got to do one of these custom display list structs. So we got to do one for Kirby hat. So DK hat, Pika hat. So let's copy the Pika hat one. Seems pretty similar to what we need to do. Right. Copy it after shake hat. I'll copy it after kazooie hat. Open mouse. All right, so we'll call this crash hat. And now this number here is where it's going to be in the structure. So this high and low. So we're going to focus on high right now. But the first one that gets set is this one. So the second one, I've got the second one highlighted. So while I've done that, 4A8, we're going to set that here, 4A8. Oops, this one, 4A8, 4A8. And then we're going to set the first one to what is it? Three C8. So 3C8 is this one. C8 4A. And then we're going to, so this one is not right. It's going to be 411A3878. That's what it is. Now, I want to try one thing because 3078 might be better. Let's just double check if 078 is better. Don't notice any noticeable difference when I do that. But when I cloak, if I get rid of this one, nah, doesn't seem like it really makes it a big difference. I was hoping that it wouldn't be as visible, but it seems like it's just going to have to be. Maybe that doesn't really matter. So anyway, maybe that'll get fixed with this render mode. All right, so that and that correspond to the two ET01C calls that are here and down here. So what was that other one? Sorry, pass it. Oh, I got rid of it. So that's all we have to do for low poly. I mean for high poly in this struct. But then we need to take this struct and add it later on. So anytime we see on one of these other ones, we need to do the same thing. So we'll just copy what's going on with, I guess, it's like Sonic. Let's copy what's going on with Pikachu. Let's say Kirby hat ID Pikachu. Let's do it this way. You need to copy everything from here to here. And we'll do crash. All right, so struct crash hat being crash hat. All right, so crash hat ID is actually 2A, as we painfully discovered earlier. And now let's find one more. Let's copy that. Crash. Crash. All right. And now that should work. And I will look into low poly in a minute. So I'm going to push pause. All right, so I'm pretty sure I figured out what the problem was. When I copied over the high poly back again on top of it, when I redid it with the correct offset for the low poly, I didn't update the final pointer in the high poly when I copied it over. I should have left that one the same. So it should be EO1D. So it points to the right location. EO1D multiplied by 4 is 38074. And 38074 is the correct starting point in this to the first pointer in this display list for low poly. So that is what happened there, and that was my mistake, and it wouldn't have happened if I had gotten the original offset correct. I don't know how I didn't, but anyway. So this should be good. I built it. I also went ahead and populated the car M color table for low poly. I went in and found where the E20001Cs are, put them in for 388 and 88, and it's the same. It was pretty much the same. Usually it is. So these are the same, but they need to be distinct so that you can have a low poly and a high poly in the same match. All right, so that is all good. So let's check it out. The only thing remaining then should be low poly will probably look like, the same color as Kirby skin. So let's see. Oh, poly. Crash. That's a little better. All right, so we will do. We'll just go in there without a crash hat on, so we can figure out where it is. Oh, that's not where I want to be. I want to be here. All right, so this is the guy. Go there. Pop it open. All right, so let's check out this playlist, and it's probably going to be a little bit lower down before we have to worry about. So remember, we're looking for DEs now. So let's just double check if this one matters. Yeah, okay, that's the first one. So good guess. So we'll do 7 probably, and then we'll find the next DE. So this DF is getting stuck in here by the car M code, so it's not really the end of the display list. Here we go. 6. There's the nose. Let's see. Next DE, we'll do 7. That's the bottom of the ears. This one we'll do 6. There we go. One more probably. 7 underneath the nose there. That looks pretty good. That should be the last one. Okay, so that's pretty good. And if we do the visibility check for this, it should be good. Yeah, looking good. So if we switch them back to high poly, it would probably be good too. But let's just go to here and go to the very end. Start working our way up the display list. This one is 7. Next DE is 6. Next DE is 7. Next DE is 6. I think we started with a D with a 7 here, probably. So that's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's just double check that's what we did. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so let's save that. And now the crucial step that I didn't do that one time, re-inject it and override current running. Okay, now attach it. And let's just double check high poly while that builds to make sure that invisibility is working for high poly. Yeah, looking good. So invisibility is working. Different costumes are working. And once this loads, we'll test high poly again. I mean low poly. So let's go to low poly one last time. Verify everything works. Let's check it out. Yeah, looking pretty good. And just to prove that the visibility is working still, we'll go to visibility, cloaked, and everything is hiding nicely. Okay, so that is now 100% working. So the only really thing left to do is to create original so that you can commit original.x delta along with these changes, and that should be it. So I hope you enjoyed this very long video. If you made it this far, man, just, God bless you. And I hope you have a wonderful day or night. Peace out.